We work hard our whole lives. We sacrifice a little bit today in order to be able to save money, to have a brighter future, to have a better retirement down the road. And then one day we open up a major national newspaper, and there's an article in it by two respected economists that argue that the very investment tools, the various investment accounts that we have the bulk of our retirement assets in, they argue we should get rid of them. They argue we should get rid of the IRAs and we should get rid of the 401ks. So what's going on here? Do you and I need to be worried about the government taking these investment accounts away where, again, the bulk of our assets are? Let's jump in and talk about it. Okay, the two economists, the names are Andrew Biggs and Alicia Minnell. And these are respected economists, and Andrew Biggs did a tweet post basically making his argument saying, I think we should get rid of 401ks and IRAs. And that tweet post went viral. And that, as I record this, it's got over 1 million views. And the USA Today saw that, and one of their reporters, Daniel De Vise, wrote an article that's called, What If the Government Abolished Your 401k? Economists say accounts aren't worth it. And that was in February of 2024. So first let me talk about these economists. It's Alicia Minnell, and she was an assistant Treasury Secretary under President Clinton, so probably Democrat leaning. And she wrote this co-brief, this argument to get rid of the 401ks, to get rid of the IRAs. And Andrew Biggs is a senior fellow at a right-leaning American Enterprise Institute. So I think it's probably balanced here. But what you and I care about is, do we have to worry about our 401ks going away? Let me tell you what their argument is, and then we'll get to my views on whether I think they're going away. So their argument is not enough people of regular means are participating in the 401ks and the IRAs, and essentially it's a subsidy for wealthy people. And there's some good data that actually supports this. If you look at people's wages and the availability of 401k type accounts for people making under $20,000 a year, only 19% of those wages are covered by a 401k. For $20,000 to $50,000 a year, it's about half. 50 to 100,000, 3/4 of those wage earners have a 401k. And then 100,000 to 200,000 goes all the way up to 85%. So if you look at something that's regressive and maybe it penalizes people that are making less money, that data tends to support that wealthier people have access to these accounts more than the very people that it's trying to help. The 401ks and the IRAs are really trying to help the middle class and the lower middle class folks save as much money as they can for retirement so they can have as good of a retirement as they can. All right, another thing that I think is important to look at here, the share of taxpayers contributing to an IRA. So under $50,000 of adjusted gross income, only 3% of taxpayers contribute to an IRA. From 50 to 100,000, it goes up to 8%. Then 100,000 to 200,000, it goes to 13%, and pretty much stays at 13% until you get to above $500,000. So their argument that the bulk of the savings is going to wealthy people that frankly they would argue don't need it. So what should we think about this? Well, here's my thoughts. Is the IRA and the 401k is a really good enticement to get people to save money. But what the data is showing us is not enough people are using it. So what I think is we have a good system, but it's not perfect. It needs to be improved. And what these two economists are saying is, let's just scrap it. Let's get rid of the tax savings. It costs the US government about $185 billion a year to let us defer our income when we put money in. We put money into a regular 401k, a regular IRA in pre-tax dollars. So we don't pay tax on it. We do on the back end, but we don't pay tax right away. So it costs the government about $185 billion a year in order to forego that revenue. Now, it's a good plan, but as these economists rightfully point out, it's not a perfect plan. And the economists say, hey, rather than spend this $185 billion a year to support what they consider to be a broken, a flawed 401k IRA model that basically benefits wealthier people that they argue don't need that benefit, rather than do that, let's spend that $185 billion and let's shore up the shortfall that Social Security has. And I get where they're coming from. But what I'd rather see happen is we have a system that's not perfect. We have a system that should and could work, and let's focus our efforts on making it better. For instance, I have some clients that work for universities, and universities tend to be very generous with their matching. So a lot of private companies might match the first 2% of the money you put into your 401k, they'll match the first 2%, the first 4%, whatever the number is. And maybe we offer incentives to employers so that more employers are doing what universities are doing and other entities are doing, increasing the amount that they match to encourage people, because that's essentially, it feels to you and I like free money, right? If for every dollar we put in for that match, our employer puts in $1 to match. So it's a big incentive, or it should be a big incentive for us to put money into these accounts. So I'd rather us focus. I appreciate the facts that were shared in this report. I think they're important, but I'd rather us focus on how do we fix it. So, and the other thing is there's the entire other side of the equation is now we don't just have regular 401ks and regular IRAs, we also have Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks, which for a lot of us I think could be a really powerful tool. I talk about these 3 buckets. You want to have some money that you can access without having to trigger ordinary income. And that's what the Roth IRA, that's what the Roth 401k allows you to do. And in a current standpoint, we're not getting a tax break from it. So that's not part of that $185 billion that these economists are arguing about. So maybe we tweak things over more to like a Roth version of things. And in an ideal world, as a financial advisor, not a policymaker, I want my clients to have money in 3 buckets. I want them to have money in an account that's tax deferred, that they got the tax break day one, which I call tax me later account. I want them to have money in a what I call a tax me never account, which are these Roth versions. It's not really tax me never because you did not get your tax break when you put your money in, but it's going to grow tax free. And if you meet all the criteria, when you take your money out, it's not going to trigger ordinary income tax. And then there's a tax me as I go account, which is like the bank account. So is your IRA, is your 401k at risk? I don't think so. They bring up some good points. I definitely think we can improve it. And so I hope part 2 of this video in a year or 2 is going to be how the US government improved our 401ks and improved our IRAs. And on that, I want you to think about improving your life. And I want you to think about watching this video here, 7 things that I want you to stop doing as you approach your 50s and 60s to enjoy life more. Let's improve the IRAs, let's improve the 401ks, and let's improve our journey as we get ready to retire.